Good morning. Last week we heard about David getting anointed by Samuel. David was about 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned for about 40 years as king. This week we're going to learn about Daniel. And Daniel was in David's family about 14 generations. So that's like David's great grandson. Daniel was taken away from his home as a young man, maybe as young as 12. King Nebuchadnezzar, a Chaldean ruler, conquered the land of Judah and destroyed the temple of Jerusalem. Nebuchadnezzar deported the educated young men to Babylon and trained them to work for him. Daniel was very smart and honest, and he rose to the top. It can be hard being in charge of things, and it's super important to have people around you who are helpful and can take care of things for you. I thought I would ask some Presby Camp counselors and kids what extra jobs they would want to take on if they had more responsibility. If I was going to delegate things, what would you want to be in charge of? Besides tie-dye.
Besides tie-dye?
Besides tie-dye. You're already in charge of that.
Probably snacks.
Huh?
I'll be snack.
What's the best snack you're going to bring to Presby Camp?
Carrots and vegetables.
I'll be making tie-dyes.
I would want to be in charge of tie-dyeing. Tie-dye.
Tie-dye.
I would set up the activities before they come in, sanitize, set up and sanitize.
Maybe hand sanitizing everything.
Oh, cleaning.
Yeah.
That's super important. Okay.
I think that I would want to be in charge of maybe taking care of the other kids because it would be fun.
Looking after someone.
Looking after someone? Who do you want to look after?
You look after me?
Okay, Perry. Perry, what should I put you in charge of for Presby Camp?
Fun games to do.
Fun games.
Well, I would be in charge of no running into people.
All right, safety. You be in charge of safety?
Safety?
That's like when you don't run into people.
Yeah, no running and then they crash.
Okay.
I'm not gonna let that happen.
Okay, awesome.
Can I be in charge of all things dirt and mud?
Yes. What do you want to be in charge of for Presby Camp?
I want to be in charge of all things dirt and mud.
Wait, Jim! Martin wants to be in charge of all things dirt and mud.
We can be co-captains
All
of
right,
all
but you
things
gotta
dirt
stay
and mud.
6 feet apart
Oh yeah.
and put your masks on.
The president.
You want to be in charge of the president? Like if the president came to Presby Camp?
No, I want to be the president.
Oh, you want to be the president of Presby Camp? Okay, that'll be a new title. I'll see if I can make that position available. I think our campers and counselors are definitely on their way to the top, like Daniel was. Daniel became the chief advisor to the king. Even though he was in a high position of power, it didn't mean that he was always safe and protected. There were some people who were out to get his job. And Jim is going to read about Daniel's adventures from the 6th chapter.
From Daniel chapter 6, the word of the Lord. It pleased Darius to appoint 120 royal rulers over his entire kingdom. He placed 3 leaders over them. One of these leaders was Daniel. The royal rulers were made accountable to the 3 leaders. Then the king wouldn't lose any of his wealth. Daniel did a better job than any of the other 2 leaders or any of the royal rulers. He was an unusually good and able man. So the king planned to put him in charge of the whole kingdom. But the other 2 leaders and the royal rulers heard about it. So they looked for a reason to bring charges against Daniel. They tried to find something wrong with the way he ran the government. But they weren't able to. They couldn't find a single fault in any of his work. He could always be trusted. He never did anything wrong. And he always did what he was supposed to. Finally, these men said, "We want to bring charges against this man, Daniel, but it's impossible for us to come up with a reason to do it. If we find a reason, it will have to be in connection with the law of his God." So the 2 leaders and the royal rulers went as a group to the king. They said, "King Darius, may you live forever. All the royal rulers, high officials, royal rulers, advisors, governors want to make a suggestion. We've agreed that you should give an order, and you should make sure it's obeyed. Your Majesty, here is the command you should make your people obey for the next 30 days. Don't let any of your people pray to any god or human being except to you. If they do, throw them into the lion's den. Now give the order. Write it down in the law of the Medes and the Persians. Then it can't be changed. So King Darius put the order into writing. Daniel found out that the king had signed the order, and in spite of that, he did just as he had always done before. He went home to his upstairs room. Its windows opened towards Jerusalem. He went to his room 3 times a day to pray. He got down on his knees and gave thanks to his God. Some of the other royal officials went to where Daniel was staying. They saw him praying and asking God for help. So then they went to the king. They spoke to him about his royal order. They said, "Your Majesty, did you sign an official order? It said that for the next 30 days, your people could pray only to you. They could not pray to anyone else, whether God or human being. If they did, they would be thrown into the lion's den." The king answered, "The order must still be obeyed. It is what the law of the Medes and the Persians requires, so it can't be changed." Then they said to the king again, they said, "Daniel is one of the prisoners from Judah. He doesn't pay any attention to you, your Majesty. He doesn't obey the order that you put into writing. He still prays to his God 3 times a day." When the king heard this, he was very upset. He didn't want Daniel to be harmed in any way. Until sunset, he did everything he could to save him. So then the king gave an order. Daniel was brought out and thrown into the lion's den. The king said to him, "You always served your God faithfully, so may he save you." A stone was brought and placed over the opening of the den. The king sealed it with his own special ring. He also sealed it with the rings of all his nobles. Then nothing could be done to help Daniel. The king returned to his palace. He didn't eat anything that night. He didn't ask for anything to be brought to him for his enjoyment, and he couldn't sleep. As soon as the sun began to rise, the king got up. He hurried to the lion's den, and when he got near it, he called out to Daniel. His voice was filled with great concern. He said, "Daniel, you serve the God of the living. You always served him faithfully. So he has been able to save you from the lions?" Daniel answered, "Your Majesty, may you live forever. My God has sent his angel, and his angel has shut the mouth of the lions. They haven't hurt me at all. And that's because I haven't done anything wrong in God's sight. I've never done anything wrong to you either, your Majesty." And the king was filled with joy. He ordered his servants to lift Daniel out of his den. So they did, and they didn't see any wounds on him. That's because he had trusted his God. Then the king gave another order. The men who had said bad things about Daniel were brought in. And the king wrote to all people of all nations, no matter what language they spoke. He said, "May you have great success. I order people in every part of my kingdom to respect and honor Daniel's God. He is the living God. He will live forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. His rule will never end. He sets people free and saves them. He does miraculous signs and wonders. He does them in the heavens and on the earth. He has saved Daniel from the power of the lions." So Daniel had success while Darius was king, and things went well with Daniel during the rule of Cyrus the Persian as well.
The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Daniel had quite a career spanning around 70 years, 4 kings, and several life-threatening adventures. He was probably 80 when he spent the night with the lions. In this painting by James Hickey, you see Daniel and the angel sent to protect him, and one lion who looks very interested in Daniel. I think Daniel doesn't look too comfortable, but he also doesn't look scared. What do you think Daniel is thinking? And what do you think the lion is thinking? It's not too late to get your order in for communion juice and bread for August 2nd, next Sunday.